What's going on, my PT peeps, my Walking Dead family, and my fighters? I'm One Eyebrow, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about the Walking Dead World Beyond Season 1, Episode 4. Review, recap, a little bit of some Easter eggs, discussion, all that good stuff, but obviously spoiler warning for all things Walking Dead, shows, comics, spin-offs, movies, everything related to the Walking Dead universe. Spoiler warning. Well, Season 1, Episode 4 of the Walking Dead World Beyond didn't do the show any favors. And it's not going to bring other people to watch the show except for the post-credits scene. Now, the episode starts with our group, the kids, Felix, Huck, talking in the woods. They're talking about CRM, where Dr. Bennett is, why they're the hidden city, and why it's smart that CRM doesn't give their location away. Hope's like, well, that's some shady you know what I'm talking about. But the plan is to have Felix talk to Elton and try to convince the group to go back to the campus colony instead of going to probably Omaha and then hopefully New York. They come across this place right here, which is a school. It's interesting because that's where the rest of the episode is. They get to the school within the first minute of the episode, and then they're there. And they really don't do anything to progress the story. It has the then and now, then and now, answer some things, set some things up. But you see the school when it was going on. You see this girl with the pink hair, the purplish pink hair, and she's walking around. They cut to her a couple times, and she's kind of a focal point of the way the world was. And you see they're kind of flirting, and this is a normal day at the school. This might have been the last day that this school was going on in a normal way, but you see things in a couple different aspects. You see normalcy here. You see that this person takes a picture of the girl that I think is named Sabina, as we see later on in a yearbook. So I have some questions, right? If they have yearbooks, it was probably towards the end of the school year when the apocalypse hit, because these people are still in the school. Well, at least that girl is. You see her later on as a dead zombie. Our kids, our group, they go into the auditorium. They find a trophy case, which is in the auditorium there. You've never seen that. The school layout is pretty funny, and it's like the writer has never been in high school before because the layout doesn't make sense, especially when they find food and supplies in the basement, unless somebody was living there. But like I said before, they do a then and a now approach. And The Walking Dead loves to do that. They do it on Fear, and they do it here. Dr. Bennett is doing some stuff at the campus colony. You see him talking to a younger Hope who gets in trouble. She's acting out. And you find out a little bit more about the dynamics of Hope and Dr. Bennett. And from what I got out of it, is that Hope and Iris were both adopted by the Bennetts from the same agency or home, because they were in the crib together when they got them and they were looking after each other, and they show that both Hope and Iris look after each other. That's what Dr. Bennett said. But then it cuts to present day Hope, and Hope tries to find out, more about Huck, and she doesn't want to give too much away, yet not yet. They're trying to find clothes for Huck because she lost her bag. Iris and Silas go together, so they have groups of 2 instead of 2 groups of 3. They have 3 groups of 2, which would probably been smarter to do 3 groups of 2. But either way, they go to an auditorium, and the radio doesn't work because the batteries are corroded, right? I mean, when's the last time you checked those batteries? That's pretty terrible. And you didn't it was working last episode, but something happens. Stuff's gotta go fall apart here. You also see that it's a Sadie Hawkins dance. That's only been in shows, to my knowledge. I've never been in one of those. I've never seen one of those. I went to high school in the late 90s, early 2000s. Is that outdated? Is that just for TV shows? Have you been to a Sadie Hawkins dance? Let me know in the comments. And they make the joke like, oh, Sadie Hawkins, she probably went to school here. Silas finds some beers. No, he finds soda cans underneath the bleachers. And they open them up, and they still have carbonation. Those things have been there at least for 10 years, right? I just don't see how they would taste good, how they have any carbonation, and they've been out in the warm room temperature for how many years, right? But she's like, man, that's good, right? Well, I guess if you've never had it before and you're thirsty, anything works, but it was just kind of funny. They have canned soda, and it's a nice treat. And then a walker comes and is by the door, and the kids get scared, so they don't go out that way. The other door is jammed, so they can't open it. So they just hang out and dance around, and it's just kind of like, I see the point of it, but some people are like, oh man, this is just dumb. You see teenagers dancing around in a high school auditorium, and Silas learned to dance, ballroom dance when he was younger. Their imagination takes them into present day, and they're dancing around. And again, what high school would you be ballroom dancing in? Like, I just don't think that's realistic. I know it's like maybe a dream sequence or like their imagination. I guess they don't know what high school is like, so they don't know. They probably would not be dancing like this. And again, you see another flashback of Hope and Dr. Bennett. You don't see Iris there at all talking with Dr. Bennett. It's just Hope and Dr. Bennett, which I find very interesting. Dr. Bennett leaves his kids, which is kind of hard to believe. He's like, man, he just left his kids, kind of like Michonne just left Judith and RJ. And you're like, I guess I can buy it. But I'm like, no, that's a parent. You would never leave your children like that. But Dr. Bennett says something very interesting to Hope. He understands why she's like bored or she's acting out, because something about it. Like either she's too smart for this, like she's a genius and she's just, acting out because she's not being challenged, or there's something else to it. Dr. Bennett doesn't say what it's there. He says, when I see you next time, I'll tell you. And, they haven't seen each other in years. So we'll see how that goes down when they finally see each other, if they do, which they better, right? Dr. Bennett better live because he's the major connecting point with this show, and we just haven't seen him in real time. And you see Felix and Elton are together, and they come across a walker or an empty that's in a locker. So either the person died and he was put in a locker, or there was a walker or empty and they put the walker in the locker. I don't know, it's hard to say. But Elton is claustrophobic. You see that he gets scared and he's like, he feels that he's, claustrophobic. You can see him right here. That's young Elton, and he sees, I don't know where he is, if he's hiding somewhere or what this actually is, but he sees a walker in a locker and it triggers his claustrophobia. And that reminded me of Carol, who has it when it kind of suits the story arc. She's like, oh, it's claustrophobic, but Elton has that same thing. They also come across this crazy, weird group of dead bodies, bones, and walkers. And there's a walker head that's still moving, and you find out that Felix has a gun, and he points it around the room, and this group of dead walkers and bones is most likely from a wolf, because Hope and Huck come across this wolf that they go into a room, and then the wolf is basically protecting probably her pups or her babies. I don't know what you call them. But then Hope and Huck are like, okay, I know how to do this. And they just walk by it and act like they're not a threat. And they just walk away from it. Which I doubt they weren't going to have a wolf attack the actors. But, it's kind of like, wow, that's all it was. And basically everybody meets in the basement. Hope and Huck come across the supplies. They load up on sardines and peanut butter. And they just start grabbing everything. And Silas and Iris leave the auditorium because there's a noise in the walls or whatever. And they open the one door, the walker comes in, they go out the same door, and they lock the walker in. But walkers are a problem. Empties are a problem. I'm just going to call them walkers. I don't know. Empties just sounds weird. But then Huck and Hope hear sound on the other side of the door that's closed in the basement. And it's from Silas and Iris. And stuff starts to break down. And if you can, guys, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Helps achieve that goal of 100,000 subscribers, and more people are telling me they're not getting notifications, so make sure the bell is rung. If not, click the bell off and then re-click it, or unsubscribe and resubscribe. Sometimes that helps. But the red light here is from a flare that Silas finds. They're in the basement. They don't have a flashlight. They use that as their light. They're walking around, and there's all these walkers stuck in lockers or metal or something. It's hard to see exactly what they are, but of course they start coming out because our group is in there. And then all of a sudden, one walker is coming towards Silas and Iris, and Silas decides to finally sack up, and he stabs the walker with the wrench, with the pointy end of the wrench. And another walker comes out of the wall, and this is where it gets crazy, right? You should never be punching a walker with a bare hand. You should be stabbing a walker or doing whatever. You should not be having an open fist that has no protective glove or anything on it punching a walker. But he's enraged, and he's like, and they go crazy. He's freaking out, and you find out, he talks with Iris about things, and we find out that he killed his father, I believe. It's not really the clearest thing ever, but I guess the person he was fighting and punching was his father. And then our group all reunites in the basement. Elton tries to stop Silas from punching the walker. He pushes him off, and he falls down on his shoulder, and he's okay. He's got ice pack on there. But we find out a little bit more about the backstory of things. A nice little bonding moment with Iris and Silas, and I wonder if they're going to get together. They're kind of hinting at that a little bit. But then we see a yearbook here. We see the girl with the pink purplish hair, Sabina James, and you see, a yearbook. They got a yearbook, and yearbooks come out at the end of the year. So I'm guessing the apocalypse came into this area at the end of the year of their school year, right? And then you see the walker right there, the same girl with the same hair. So you see her as a human being in the yearbook, and then she's gone. Then at the very end, in the same auditorium where the episode started, you see Elton with his camera is like, I want everybody to take a picture. I want to get everybody together. And he takes a picture, which I find very interesting for two reasons. It's in the same exact location that the girl takes a picture of Sabina right there in normal life, right? And it's got to be symbolic for, start to finish where the world was and where it is now. And also, here's the photo. Who's not in it? Elton. So is that foreshadowing that Elton's going to die, or that Elton leaves the group? There's no way to tell. And that's how it ends. But if you know the post-credits scene, this is the first time I've ever seen a post-credits scene in the world of Walking Dead. It's all about the A's. TS A402, Samuel Abbott from Portland, Oregon. Dr. Samuel Abbott. And it's interesting. It's 1 minute and 28 seconds. So make sure you watch to the very end for sure. But it's even after what happens next week. So you see different things, the giant sandwich, you see the photo on the desk. And if you want to find out more, go to our video with the thumbnail of the helicopter with the A on it. But we don't get her name. We see Dr. Samuel Abbott, who's in the picture. Dr. Bennett's in the picture. And we see different test subjects. A402 is Dr. Samuel Abbott. Test subject A403, that's the way it ends. So is that test subject 403? If that's 403, that's a lot of test subjects. And I find it very interesting, a couple things here. Dr. Bennett has his arm around this lady. So are they a thing? Are they together? Were they together? And this is the guy in the picture with the beard next to the woman in the photo. So I guess he was bit and became a test subject, and she didn't even care because she's not really having a remorse. She just got stone face. She's just doing her research. And if you like the video, guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up. If you like the channel, give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out and it really helps support things. But there you go, guys. That's it. So majority of people are more interested in the post-credit scene, that it's 1 minute and 28 seconds versus the 40 some odd minute episode. Doesn't really do much to progress the story. We get a little more backstory about Dr. Bennett and Hope and Silas and things, but overall, it's kind of a weaker episode. It's probably the weakest episode so far, but it was interesting. I was entertained. Thank you guys. Stay safe and tell them, Daryl.
No, we love you guys.